So Link Revolution is the first ever main box of the Link era. It has a bunch of Link support. It has support for Code Talkers, Salamangreats. It has Dark Magician support. It has Kaijus for some reason. It has like generic Cyberse support, which will be really good. It has a Goat Key support. We have a World Chalice support, and some staples like Pot of Duality and Warning Point. Salamangreats are the tier 1 strategy right now. It is the deck that everyone's playing. It can consistently put up negate every turn. Turn after turn, you can just reset your roar and negate whatever your opponent is trying to do. That makes them a very good control deck, but its offensive power is a bit lacking. Its only way to beat over high attack monsters is to use their Heatleo, but it becomes a problem if your opponent has more than one high attack monster. For example, if your opponent is playing Pendulums like DDD. But still, Salamangreats are a really good deck. It's also really cheap to build. You can build an entire functional top tier Salamangreat deck by just going through the box once or maybe twice to get 3 copies of Circle if you can. Honestly, 1 Heatleo is fine, you don't need 2 because you can get your second one from your skill. And preferably you will want to also place Ningirsu into your Salamangreat deck. Honestly, 1 opening of this box will be enough for a competitive Salamangreat deck. And I do recommend playing Salamangreats for players who want to play Links and also want to play competitive Links. Okay, let's go over Code Talkers. The best Code Talker is obviously Decode Talker. It negates a target effect by tributing a monster that you control that points to. And yeah, there's stuff like Lady Debug, which helps with your consistency and helps you spam more Link material. And there is, of course, Silent Crosswipe, tributing a Cyberse monster and allows you to pop any card on the field. Unfortunately, they're not really good right now, because they use a lot of resources and end on something that's not very impressive. The most impressive thing that you can end on is probably Firewall Dragon using your Storm Access skill. For now, it uses up too much resources and ends on something that's way too insignificant. When more Code Talker support is released, the deck will get better and better, and hopefully become somewhat competitive. World Chalice is perhaps the cheapest Link deck in the entire game, and it is good. So even though World Chalice decks can't play too many back row because they special summon from hand, which means you have to play a lot of monsters in hand to actually have stuff to summon, but the Link capability of this deck is insane. If you want to play a Link combo deck, makes a ton of Link summons per turn, then World Chalice will be the deck for you. And it's also very, very cheap. The World Chalice monsters are... The World Chalice Links are all just a rare rarity except for Ningirsu. But you can just play 1 copy of Ningirsu and it will be fine. For Dark Magicians, Apprentice Illusion Magician is a reprint from a selection box, so if you don't have that, it's your chance to get it. But most notably, we got Eternal Soul. It gives your Dark Magicians immunity to any opponent's card effects. And you can also summon a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard every turn until you read Eternal Soul's other effect. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters you control. So the deck isn't competitive, because if Eternal Soul gets removed, you lose. You can't play without Eternal Soul. You lose your main source of card advantage, you lose all your monsters, your Dark Magic Circle becomes a sitting duck, and yeah, if your opponent can't out your Eternal Soul, then you will probably win, because Eternal Soul is broken if you can't out it. While we're here, let's talk about Kaijus. We got 1 single Kaiju. The other Kaijus that we got aren't actually Kaijus that actually don't do Kaiju stuff. It is a extremely good way to beat over monsters that have a ton of protection. Something like a Lunar Light Saber Dancer that can't be targeted, or something that cannot be destroyed by card effects like Bloom Diva, and unlike Lava Golem, it doesn't use your normal summon. And because unbeatable boss monsters are not so common in Duel Links right now, the main problem with Kaijus in Duel Links right now is that you kind of don't need to use it, because the competitive meta of Duel Links is centered around setting a lot of back row. Kaijus can't deal with back row, so it's not really useful for that. You don't actually need to open this box to play Gokis. The other cards are from the other mini box, and the level up rewards or the gate rewards from the Gore. Part of Duality, very situational, because it doesn't let you special summon during the turn you activate this card. But if you can use this, it is really good. Not a lot of decks can actually use this because it locks you out of special summons. But a deck that can use this is Dark Magicians, which also got support in this box, because Dark Magicians summon their Dark Magicians with traps in your opponent's turn. The singular best generic card in this entire box will be Warning Point. It is a staple trap that says when a monster is summoned this turn, that monster cannot attack, it's negated, and it cannot be used as a material for an extra deck summon. Since Floodgate Trap Pool doesn't work against Link monsters, this will probably be your best option. It also negates the effects, so for example if your opponent uses a Black Rose Dragon, it negates it. Yeah, it's Floodgate but better. Overall, this box is good. It's really good. It has a number of cheap archetypes like World Chalice and Salamangreat. It has good staples like Warning Point and Kaijus that potentially might be good, and also stuff like generic Cyberse support like our search spells, Signet Mining. So I do recommend this box for players who want to build Link decks. It's definitely a good box for new players that want to play Links because they can get their World Chalice deck, and also good for old players who want to play Links because you can build an entire Link deck by only opening this box and nothing else. And because also Salamangreat is tier 1. While we're here, let's also review the structure deck. Basically, it's not good. The only good card in the entire structure deck is Microcoder. That will be very useful for Code Talker decks, which might be good in the future when they get more support. And the other cards are just bad. Or reprints. Elphase is okay, but the monster it summons cannot be used as Link material. And Code Talker is okay. It's battle related. It's good in very specific situations. So my recommendation is to buy this deck at 1 copy. Use your 1,000 gems. Get this deck 1 time. Don't bother spending any money on it. Is this selection box good? Well, the answer is kinda depends. And it depends on if you have a Goki cards or not. Well, Gokis, while not be top tier, but they are competitive with the new support. So if you want to play Gokis and you're willing to spend money, probably the best way to get your Goki cards is through this selection box. And there are exactly 2 cards that are worth mentioning. The first is Security Dragon. A generic Link 2 monster, uses any 2 monsters as material. You can use tokens, you can use normal monsters, you can use effect monsters, you can use anything. You can even use Link monsters. And it has an effect when it is co-linked. You can bounce a monster your opponent controls. It can use in any deck, and as long as you have another Link monster that points down, you can activate this effect and have a generic monster removal. The best card in this entire selection box is of course Crackdown, that has an effect that just steals an opponent's monster without any cost, like enemy controller. It just steals it, it's yours now, and it also cannot activate effects. A thing worth noting is that it cannot activate effects, but it doesn't negate its effects. Well, where does it matter is that if you chain this effect on an opponent's monster effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect and then you chain Crackdown and try to take that monster will still be able to resolve that effect, because it says it cannot activate the effect, but not negate the effects. So let's say your opponent summons Stratos, and then you try to get it with Crackdown. Even if you get your opponent's Stratos, your opponent still gets a Search. So should you buy this selection box? Short answer, depends on if you need Goki cards. If you don't, well, don't buy this selection box. It's not worth it, because the only card that you will probably need is Crackdown and Security Dragon. If you need Goki cards, then go ahead. But if you don't waste your money. Just wait for them to be released on a main or mini box and just get them from there. Yeah, so that's the end of the box reviews. Thanks for watching, goodbye.